All right, welcome back here to the Jordy Culotta Show on this Thursday. Always look forward to our conversation with the voice, Chris Blair, who comes through each week here. Last week he was up at SEC basketball tournament. This week he is flying out to College Station, where everybody's eyeballs will be peeled for SEC baseball getting cranked up this weekend. And LSU, who leads in every major category. And when I say lead, I mean like number one in the country leads in every major category in baseball. Is taking off for their first conference test of the weekend. So, Chris, good morning. It's good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, man.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the swag, which will come in handy. We were talking about. It's going to be a little chilly in Bryan College Station. Weather's going to be not optimal, so this will be able to keep me warm. Thanks.
Absolutely, no pressure, but the staff expects to see it on the live stream.
I've been told.
Okay, so what more can you say? I don't know what to say else about this team. I guess just get to College Station, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think this weekend was kind of the culmination. You know, you run rule Samford. No offense to the Bulldogs, and again, I understand Samford's out of the Southern Conference, so I mean they're not going to push the needle that much. But it's the way LSU's winning, and again, it's second best defense in the country. I mean, you talk about how important some of the lapses defensively last year were for this team. And, going into the year, Jay told me, he said, because I was talking about Tommy White and how Dylan Cruz is going to be great and Paul Skenes. And, he agreed with all that. But he said, the one thing, Chris, I think you really are going to make, notice is defensively we're going to be better. And, and I think there kind of became this, I don't know how, but this theme that, Jay's all about offense. He doesn't care about defense.
Yeah.
Well, you don't grow up the son of a football coach, and his attention to detail as Jay Johnson is every minute of the day, not caring about defense. So, that was a misnomer. So, this team has just been impressive. But during the Samford weekend, I heard from a number of guys saying, you know what, the non-conference is built to kind of see where your lineup is, where are your best guys in the field. You get guys at bats. All of that stuff goes into preparing for the conference. I think it was pretty clear last weekend LSU's ready to go to SEC play. That doesn't mean it's going to be easy. It's not.
Right.
But they're ready. The non-conference is easily in the rear view.
I mean, outside of Cruz, Thompson, Tanks, Trey Morgan, your job's on the line every day, right? I mean,
that's it. We discussed it following the UNO game on Tuesday. Doug Thompson and I were talking afterwards with a couple of guys, and it was basically, that's the atmosphere that Jay's created. I mean, he's a top-notch alpha competitor, and he has created an environment within that clubhouse and on that diamond that, unless you're those guys you mentioned, where they're going to be every single game, everybody else is, you get an opportunity, you got to make the most of it. You got to maximize every time you go to the plate. And it was evident. Look at Hayden Travinsky the other night. Yeah. He gets 2 pinch hit at bats, jumps on the first pitches he sees, and is able to deliver base hits. I mean, that's going to bode well for him. But if you don't do that, then, I mean, last year there were so many.
Will.
Yeah, oh, yeah. And last year we would look, in tight games, or there'd be some mistakes, or a guy may have gone 0 for 3, 0 for 4. And I can remember talking to Bill Franquez specifically in Hattiesburg. Like, where do you go to? Where'd Jay go? I know so-and-so's 0 for 4, but
who's up?
Yeah. That's totally different this year, man. You're 0 for 2, 0 for 3, somebody's going to step in. Right. I mean, it's –
Meloso, grab a bat.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it the other night.
Or Gavin Guidry, every time he steps in, he makes a play.
You look at Tommy White returning to third base, and I asked Jay about it Tuesday in his office before the game. I said, Coach, first of all, tell me how you think he's doing. He made a couple of plays on Sunday at third base. He said he's fine. He's going to be a solid third baseman. He goes, what that does now is allows us really offensively to have our best guys in there. It gives us a little more. Again, you have to make those decisions because who are you going to take out of the outfield with Dylan Cruz and Paxton Kling? And if you have Dugas at second, or if he's Braden Joubert, I mean, who do you not have in the lineup? Right. That's a pretty good problem to have.
It absolutely is. We saw something, another skill set from a new face a couple of weeks ago. I wanted to talk to you about is a guy, Gavin Guidry, who was signed as a utility guy in the infield. Who's got really good hands as a defender and can hit it, as well. We saw him at the cages the other day. But then they put him on the mound, and he looks unhittable. I mean, these types of players, I guess, kind of Skenes, Guidry are a little bit more. I know Florida has one too that's doing some pitching and hitting. Is a little bit more prominent than we've ever seen in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, Ohtani effect is what I call it. You're seeing a lot of these young guys coming up that can do both of those things or all of those things. And, Guidry is one of those. I mean, there's been a number, let's face it, out of Barber High School that have come through this program and a bunch of others across the country. And, you look at his numbers last year, he was Louisiana Gatorade Player of the Year. His batting numbers were certainly what you would expect to be at LSU. And then you go and look at his pitching numbers, which I don't remember offhand, but they're gaudy.
Right.
I mean, it was the strikeouts to walks. The ERA, I think, was under 1, if memory serves. I mean, so, yeah, he's certainly a talented guy that, as you said, can maybe give you an inning or two. We saw him, I guess, twice now on the season on the mound. And, can play at short, can play at second. He's another utility infielder. And he's a great hitter, great young hitter. So it's just an abundance of riches, man. I mean, that's the only way to put it for this LSU team. And I've talked to a bunch of guys who played for Skip, who played for Paul, and they all just kind of grin when you talk about how good is this team, how deep is this team. They're like, this is a lot of work left to do. And the big challenge this weekend, I think, is this series, again, with a bunch of big ones coming up. This series, I think, is very pivotal for LSU because they've been so successful with only one loss, 11 wins in a row. They are steamrolling right now in all phases of the game. But you're going to Bryan College Station, where anytime LSU shows up, and this is their Super Bowl. Doesn't matter what sport it is. Yeah. So they're going to be in there. Again, the weather I don't think is going to be super conducive for offense. So you're going to have to find ways to manufacture runs, which is another great sign of this team because they've been able to do that.
That's right.
And, I think this is big because it's on the road. It starts the SEC, and you're taking on a team who wakes up every single day just trying to find a way to beat LSU anyhow they can.
I love that they're tested early out of the blocks in conference play, where it's this weekend to College Station, Arkansas up next, Tennessee on deck. You do a lot of preparation in getting to opponents. We know Nolan Cain.
Yep.
We love Nolan Cain. We respect the hell out of Nolan Cain. And Nolan Cain has been Nolan Cain since he's been in College Station. They got a pretty good squad they're going to roll out.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they're like a number of SEC teams preseason that were, depending on which poll you were subscribed to, there's 19 of them, I think, in college baseball. But they were top 10. They stumbled, got tripped up by, I believe, Portland.
Yeah. Lamar, Will Davis and them beat them.
Yeah, Lamar. Yeah. I think, didn't they lose to, is it Seattle? Yeah. Did they have a college? The University of Seattle?
Team.
Yeah, I mean, so, again, but that's all early on. You mentioned Nolan Cain. He knows what to expect, and he's seen top-notch college baseball. And then Jim Schlossnagle is, I think he's one of the great coaches in the game right now. So, I mean, Texas A&M, as I said, they've got great talent. I've heard a lot of people say to me, well, look at Florida, look at Texas A&M, look at these other schools, and maybe LSU's strength of schedule is not as impressive as it should be or could be. Whatever. It's baseball. Right. When you're statistically playing at the level LSU's playing at, that translates whether you're playing a team that's at the bottom of the rankings or at the top of the rankings, because there's not a lot of mistakes being made. And baseballs are being punished with bats, and pitchers are locating and throwing with high velocity. So I think that translates against any team. And I think Texas A&M, whether or not they played a tougher schedule or not, I don't think really matters. I think it's two very talented teams with two very, very impressive coaches and coaching staffs. And again, it's going to be cold weather. Bluebell Park, I don't know how it'll affect baseballs flying out. Yeah. I don't know how it'll affect the bubbles that are blowing around there. But it's going to be a tough series. I think it's an important one too, because whether you think the non-conference was tough or not, to use an old cliche, it's going to be a measuring stick for this program because of the environment, the atmosphere, and the team they're playing.
Yeah, tone setter too, right? I mean, kind of going into conference play.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing about Jay too. That's what's so great, man. Like, I asked him Tuesday before the UNO game, I said, Coach, I know you run rule Sanford in 3 straight games, and I forget what the numbers were as far as how many we scored. We only gave up,
crazy.
2 runs, 1 run? I don't even remember. It was such a blur. I said, but what was impressive was after Friday, you kind of knew this team's not going to be able to hang with us. And yet LSU was so laser focused, you would have thought they were playing, the first game in Omaha. I mean, they were that locked in. And that's what Jay demands. And if they've already kind of taken over that disposition from their coach against Samford, then I think we'll be all right, in the SEC.
He's impressive, man. We've seen a lot of people here now up close early. Mulkey, Kelly, Johnson. Johnson's as impressive as any of them.
He really is. I mean, I remember the day of his press conference. People in the room were just talking about people they knew of him. Ben McDonald, who I talked to, had covered him some that year at Arizona on their run to Omaha. And he just, the word is you're not going to outcoach him. You're not going to outwork him. That I know. And you're not going to out-recruit him. And that goes for all of the coaches in the SEC and all the coaches in college baseball. You may get some wins here or there, but you're not gonna outwork him. I mean, the guy is nonstop LSU baseball, 24/7, 365.
Wow, Stephen Miller says when Gavin Guidry was a junior at Barbe, he pitched a complete game shutout to win the state title over West Monroe.
I don't doubt it, man.
As a junior in high school.
These guys are absolute athletic freaks.
You'll be off campus this weekend, obviously over in College Station, but campus has been buzzing this week with the NCAAs coming to town.
Yeah, March Madness
cool,
coming to Baton Rouge. Yeah, I mean, they get started, Friday, 4:30?
That's right.
Against Hawaii, and, this is kind of what they've been building up for, piecing it together. They get the number 3 seed, which we could argue whether or not that's should have been a 2 seed, should have been a 3 seed. I get it. It's great for the program. It helps you, again, recruiting. But you got to go out and win games. And I know that's what Coach Mulkey's talking to her team about. Like, hey, who cares if we're a 2 seed? Yes, maybe you get a better draw. 1 seed you certainly want to aspire to. Mm-hmm. But now we're in. Let's go play and do what we do. And so Hawaii will get the first crack at the Tigers again at 4:30. And then LSU softball. They I liked what the administration has done. Again, we don't know when Sunday's game, should the LSU women's basketball win on Friday. We're not sure what time tip-off is. Of course, as Jim Hawthorne used to say, TV runs our lives. So we're waiting for TV to let us know what time Sunday. But they've kind of moved it so you might be able to catch a little bit of basketball. Then on Saturday, you hopefully can catch some softball. It's Tennessee and LSU at Tiger Park. And if we can just keep this weather and keep the schedule, I think we'll be good. It'll be a great weekend.
Agreed. Coach Torina's got them going right now, number 10 in the country for the softball team as well. You mentioned it last week before we kind of started about spring football, but we had a chance to go out there and watch the first practice out on the Ponderosa.
So how many games are we going to win based on what you saw?
Definitely over 8.5. They're definitely winning the national championship. I've already got my tickets and hotel room.
There you go.
But one thing is clear, and you anticipated it, and it played out, was that all of Kelly's principles are implemented. It's a much more – last year was, running and trying to get to one place at 1,000,000 miles an hour and teach people the standard and what it was supposed to look like and feel like. Now you walk out there and it's smooth, it's calm, its expectations are clear on what it means to be a player in the program.
Yeah, again, it goes back to what I've said. You don't win as many football games as Brian Kelly has over a 3-decade career and not have a system. And, once that system is in place, then you become plug and play. Yeah. And I think he hasn't backed away from it. That's what he said since day one. That's why he came to LSU, is he knows his system works. And then once you get a class or two, a group of players who kind of know, then you've got those older guys who go, hey, look, dude, when they blow the whistle or the horn sounds, this is what happens. And it's a smooth, hour and a half, 90 minutes, 2 hours, whatever it is, and this is where you got to be. Once that takes hold, sky's the limit then. Again, it comes back to plugging and playing these great athletes that LSU is able to get their hands on.
We had a listener bring up a recommendation of the Republic Steakhouse tonight. Yep. George the Greek asked Chris if he's going to have dinner tonight at the Republic Steakhouse in College Station. Anybody anywhere on tap?
Well, John Brady's not going. So John's the guy that normally I always go to dinner with John, so I don't have a John Brady to how do I put this? Maybe pick up some of the meal or all of it? No, but we've been to Republic.
Nobody knows that strategy better than me.
Republic, we've been several times with Coach Brady. In fact, he had a spot in Nashville shout out to the guy. First time he'd been. You know, I told you.
Yeah.
He likes to try something new. So we went to this Canes Prime, and it was out of the park, man. I mean, he nails it again. But yeah. I don't know. Without John, it may be
Raising Canes.
it may be
Raising Canes now.
it might be extra cane sauce in the hotel room for 3 days.
No toast, extra fries, please. Have a safe trip. Good to see you.
Man.
Yeah, man. We'll see you
Thanks
next
again
week.
for this.
Absolutely. Yeah,
See it on the
I
call.
think somebody asked, is Chris wearing a blue skirt? No, Chris is wearing a
Culotta
some
show
swag.
hoodie.
It's a
Some
blue
swag.
kilt.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
right. For St. Patrick's
You'll
Day.
see it Friday night.
There we go.
And you might see John Brady in the booth.
Yeah, who
No
knows?
chance.
No.
He's long gone.
No.
He's long gone.
I'll see him in
Baseball?
November.
That's right. Yep. All right, we'll be back. More of the Jordy Culotta Show.